Okay, I guess we'll start over. Welcome, and if you'll please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilman Stony.
Here.
Chapman.
Here.
Mr. White.
Here.
Mr. Monahan.
Here.
Supervisor Smith.
Here. Okay. Okay, we have public input. First up on public input, we have George Topic.
George Katanovic, 597 Old Gatesville Road, and president of Space. I'd like to ask the town board, I'm sorry I wasn't able to get here earlier this evening for the workshop meeting that preceded this meeting, but what efforts or why was there no, to me, consistent effort in getting the public out to this meeting? What kind of notices have been placed? From what I understand, it was just a basic legal notice and a mention on the website. This is pretty important, obviously, and what effort are we making to reach out to the public?
We had more people for that than we have for this.
But that's not the reason, Judge. The answer is why haven't, or the question is why haven't we gone out and sent a press release out? Why wasn't this announced at previous town board meetings?
I believe it was in one of our newspapers, our local newspapers. It was announced at our last meeting. It was announced on the radio by myself for the last at least 2 or 3 times on there.
Yeah.
I won't give you an excuse of why it wasn't, if it wasn't on the website, but I believe it was. But I know that I did receive a message from you today, George. Unfortunately, my assistant was out all day yesterday and half a day today. Her son was sick, and then she got sick. So that's probably why it wasn't on there Monday morning. But unfortunately, things happen, and it certainly isn't that we're not trying to get people out here. I sit up here every week begging people to come, and I'm glad you brought that up because it's a great way to get information out. The way to get information out is put up the bulletin board somewhere in this town. Electronic information board, and that's something that we're going to discuss. It's on the agenda here tonight, and it's something that I think would get people to come out to meetings. It would get people who are sitting at intersections and driving through the town to come out. So I think I'm glad you brought it up. I'm hoping that you support us in this to get information out there, and I think it's probably the best way. We have so many cars going through.
What about a press release? What about getting something in the newspapers and something out on the, that public can see?
There was certainly a memo in the newspaper. Madam Clerk, if you'll help me out here, because I know you sent that to the newspapers.
Yeah.
There was a public notice in the newspaper.
Well,
we can't have a meeting without a public notice.
I know, but nobody really necessarily reads.
Well, you just asked a question, so I answered it.
Well, no, that's not the question. The question is a press release, not a public notice. A public notice is a legal notice printed in the back of the newspaper, which people don't usually read. I'm talking about a public notice like a press release, like we're going to have a meeting, or we're going to have a 9/11 memorial thing in the front of town hall, where you actually go out and send something out to the public. That's what I'm talking about. That's different than a legal notice, okay? Okay, how does the plan that is being proposed tonight fit in with the current local waterfront revitalization plan? There is an LWRP, the town, I was on that committee, we're going back now a number of years, but there is a LWRP for the town. How does this fit in with that and to what, because at that point there was a committee, a public committee that was involved in developing our local waterfront revitalization plan. And also, what stage are we at right now?
We're at stage 1, phase 1, where we had Max on tonight, our town planner, to stand up and give us a little briefing on what was going on. Earlier at the 6 o'clock meeting, I know you weren't able to be there.
Right.
Yeah, we had a good discussion about what we want to do down there, and I'm sure Madam Clerk would love to give you the record. I know it is it's recorded, and I'm not going to waste a lot of people's time here tonight to go over it because we just went over for the last hour and 20 minutes. And I really want to get on at this meeting, but I will gladly.
Where does it go? Where does it go from here? I mean, was this an initial meeting to?
This is an initial meeting to get the public involved, to see what's going on down there in the waterfront, and to see a possibility of what could happen in the future. We're at a point right now where we don't know where we're going with it, but it's a first stepping stone on.
So this is a preliminary step.
That's all it is.
Okay. There's no environmental review after this. This is not.
There's no environmental review yet, but that's certainly one of the phases coming up in the future, no doubt about it.
Right.
Max, if you want to chime in on that? You know what, Max? Let's move on. We'll talk about that when you come up. We're not going to.
Okay. Thank you.
Next up, we have Dylan Stroll. Editor-in-Chief of the Rockland County Times.
Good evening, gentlemen. Right, I'm here as a Stony Pointer and the editor-in-chief of the Rockland County Times. As you know, Stony Point is marking its sesquicentennial next year, 2015. The town gained its independence from Havistraw in 1865. Many people are interested in honoring the anniversary, celebrating the town's heritage. Back in 1965, as many of you know, Stony Point held what was then described as the largest parade in Rockland County history, issued a special Stony Point currency that was accepted at participating local shops, challenged men to grow long beards, wear funny hats, and much more. We are fortunate in that many people are still around whose families were part of that celebration. Multi-generational Stony Pointer Glenn Corba, whose father was on the Centennial Celebration Committee, showed me a notebook of memorabilia from the event, including background information about how it was organized. I have since started a Facebook page, Stony Point Sesquicentennial, of which 100 people are members, including many who have expressed an interest in volunteering for any possible events or commemorations. So I thought it might be fitting to revisit some of the themes from 1965, to have people who are actually either kids or who were involved back then to be involved again. And I'm not aware if the town has made any plans yet, but I think you should consider a committee if it's agreeable with you. And also, on behalf of the Rockland County Times, I do offer a full-page advertisement for any sesquicentennial, on us. And one last thing. Ideally, I'll talk to the Wayne Hose Fire Company about this, but I'll just say it publicly in case any members are here. They have the parade around the time that's the marking of our anniversary, so maybe they'd be interested in doing something. And that's all.
Well, I'd be willing to support, the formation of the committee. I sent a note out to a number of folks who had inquired about some of these activities last week. But I think that forming a committee to plan a series of events over the course of the year, some of them small, some of them to showcase our history, but some of them large public events like a parade or something where we can bring people together and celebrate the town. I think that we should probably start planning now. I agree with you, Dylan, and I don't know, Mr. Supervisor, how you want to handle it going forward, but if there is, we do want to revisit the idea of a sesquicentennial planning committee, then I'd be willing to support that.
Definitely. We'll be working very closely along with the fire department. I think it's very important that we include all of our volunteers to help out in 150 years. I guess I know we've had these conversations before. Spring and the summer is when we'll be planning the events, but I do agree. There will be a committee put together. We will come up with some great ideas. I love the idea of the funny hats. Back in 1965, was it 65? I wasn't born, I was -4 then, but I do have some great stories from my father, my uncle who's here tonight too, Uncle Joe. My father's 80, my uncle's 85, and I could sit for hours talking about stories of Stony Point. I used to sit here next to the other person who used to know probably the second most about Stony Point other than my dad, and that was Freddie Bolander, who used to sit to my left, or my right, I don't remember what it was. Actually, my right was over there. But yeah, I think it's great. I already wear a funny hat, so I can't join that. I do come into town hall with a funny hat on once in a while. I love the beard things, but these are things that we have to go back to in the old little town of Stony Point. I think it's a great idea, Dylan. I appreciate you getting up tonight and talking about it. And we look forward to working along with you, everyone else involved in the town, all our volunteers who will step forward and make it a great celebration.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you have the full support of the whole board.
All right, yeah, I'm interested in helping out, and we do have the group with 100 people. Many of you will be willing to help out, so
Excellent.
look forward to being in touch.
Thank you so much. Mrs. Castles. I know you wrote Rebecca, but I can't call you that.
Rebecca Castle, 69 Beach Road. I just wanted to say thank you in regards to the removal of the homes. We feel much safer, much healthier. So I know it took a while, and I know I kind of harangued the entire board, but I just wanted to say thank you very much. We do appreciate it.
Well, you certainly don't have to thank us. It was a long process. It should have been done well, we wish it could have been done earlier, but there is a process we had to follow. We can't obviously go onto private property and move people's homes without following a legal procedure, which we had to do, which took months. But we finally did it. We had 2 homes down totally, and now we have 4 more. There will be 1 more on Beach Road, there will be 1 on North Street, 1 on 4th Street, and 1 on Grassy Point Road. That, however, is unless the homeowners, because they are, the first 2 are bank-owned homes. The other 2 homes are owned by private people, obviously. And hopefully within the next week or so, maybe we'll hear from them that they'll put in for a demo permit and move it on their own. The waterfront is starting to come back to what it was, and we're very proud of it. We want to get it back to where it once was, but things do take time, especially in government. But we're moving along, and we really appreciate you noticing. And you would never be a hassle to this board. Susan?
Susan Flagaris, 87 Mott Farm Road. I volunteer for the committee. I brought and I can pass them out, I brought a little flyer about what we've been doing or what we're going to do. The first I want to say is thank you to the Stony Point seniors. They helped us raise $910 at a garage sale on August 23rd. So to all of the seniors, the wonderful baked goods that the ladies made, and all of that hard work, especially with Tom carrying all of those heavy loads, Anita, Jean Odell, I know I saw another young lady here, this young lady, Jean here, they were fabulous. The seniors worked very hard. We raised $910 for the refrigerator for the Pincham School. Thanks to the seniors. Pass those out. Club 2. Okay, sorry. Okay. But as far as what we're doing for the anniversary, I've got a few little things planned up front. We've called Linda Zimmerman to come in April of next year. We've spoken to the I have enough greats, grandson of Daniel Tompkins. He'll be here at St. John the Divine. And we've spoken to, and I'm really excited about this because we don't see it very often, the great-great-nephew of James A. Farley. We're working with 1 or 2 of the restaurants in the area so that the talk will happen in a restaurant. So we're encouraging business. Daniel Tompkins will go to St. John the Divine because that's really where they're associated. So those are just a couple of the things that I've put together. I did send to you, and I refer it to you, and I surrender it to you. A scavenger hunt at different levels with the thought could be a blast. The ambulance corps, the fire department, the Stony Point Center, everybody could get involved, everybody could do a little something, but that planning is beyond me. But I did send you information, I sent you different towns that do it. It could be something that could be continued year after year. However, Chief, Mr. Brissing, our park guys, everybody would have to be involved because it could be a big undertaking depending on how you would want to set it up. But I leave that to you guys. On to my other activities. Tomorrow, the Rockland County Environmental Legislature will be meeting at 6:30 in New City. And they will be looking at a resolution urging that the health, safety, and planning concerns be addressed and mitigated in the environmental review and all other review processes before project permissions be granted for Spectra Energy's Algonquin Incremental AIM natural gas pipeline compressor and metering station expansion project. I have sent it out via email. I have signed this, I live next door to it. I have significant concerns with my well and the blasting and the hammerjacks that must be used, and will again send additional testimony not only to the federal judge, but to the county, to this town board, and the health department, stating that if something happens to my well, I hold all of you responsible. And I will work on that with the health department to figure out what I need from them to make sure that we know my well is in the right shape, and if I lose it, I'm going to look to all of our elected officials. We approved this project as the town of Stony Point, and I think what I find most concerning is that nobody in Stony Point was never addressed to the public. That's all. Had it been addressed to the public, I could have stood up and said, what about our wells? Maybe we can approve the project, and you can state, but on the north side of Buckburg, we have 1,000 residents on wells. If it dries up, there is no access to city water on the north side of Buckburg. Food for thought. Next, I spent Saturday with the unions down in New York City at the Labor Day parade. They invited me in, asked me to march, and asked me to speak to the unions. And I am here to tell you it was a blast. They put together this tiny little punch-out card. I probably spoke to 200, 300 people. It was a blast. And they have a very interesting take on the Champlain-Hudson Power Express. No jobs for New York. Evidence on job creation incomplete. Record is void on replacing jobs lost from New York power plants. New York ruled not to consider jobs impact. And the savings is a whopping $3.98 to New York City residents. Okay? That's what it is from the final environmental impact statement. And if they build Chippy, they won't upgrade our existing transmission system. Does that mean they won't encourage Lubbock to build? Does that mean they won't encourage Bowline to build? How are we going to replace those property taxes? So I spent the day with the unions. The unions are not giving up. They've pledged their support. I am going to work towards supporting them. Mr. Supervisor, as I reviewed, there is not a letter on record from you to the governor, to the DOE, to the Army Corps of Engineers, specifying that as supervisor of the town of Stony Point, you do not want this project. I would like a resolution passed. I could be presumptuous and ask for it tonight, I know, and ask you to write a letter that simply states, Mr. Governor, as supervisor of the town of Stony Point, this project is not good for the town of Stony Point. As such, we ask that you withdraw your support, especially if we want to do waterfront development. That's what I'm asking, and have each of the town board members sign it. A resolution needs to be passed, and we need to hear from each of the 5 of you calling our elected officials, reporters, I can give you a list if you don't have one, and say, this project is not good for us. If they build Chippy, we don't build Lubbock, where are you going to find the tax dollars? Worse yet, the joint proposal stated, if this project goes through, we'll never build another power plant in New York State. Merritt comes in the door and says, you know that $90 million in tax assessment I have? It's 22. They literally, they have no value if Chippy goes through. What are we going to do about it? Now, in case you don't have it, here's a letter from the Army Corps of Engineers saying they're going to use the route of the joint proposal. And I'd simply like you to understand that if this project goes through, the consequences to North Rockland are almost insurmountable. And that's it, and I thank you. I will give you some of the handouts that I worked with the unions. Oh, and the last thing is, gentlemen, very simply put, in the historical review, if they can't high definition drill it, and you need to look up high definition drilling, it is fracking, they're going to trench the cemetery. Speaking of fracking, I would ask that this town board consider a resolution on fracking. And considering what's coming through our town, it may not be a bad idea. The blowback is tremendous, and better yet, by federal law, it's a trade secret what they inject into the front of the drill to soften the earth. They don't have to tell you what's in it, and the blowback is nasty. That's federal law. that and they're all buried, Dept, people can't find them. People need to understand we're gonna lose.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I have been asked by Senator Bill Larkin tonight to make a special announcement on his behalf. He could not be with us tonight, but he wanted me to let everybody know that the senator has secured a $20,000 grant for the town of Stony Point Police Department that could be used for a variety of initiatives, equipment, vehicles, training. The grant will be administered by the New York State Division of Criminal Justice, and the senator asked me to convey that he looks forward to continuing to work with the police department and the town to finish the grant process, but he has been able to secure $20,000 for the town of Stony Point Police Department to help with their various needs and supplemental activities.
Thank you, Tom. That's great news. I know I had conversations with the chief, and I believe we've come to an automobile to replace one of our automobiles that has high mileage. So it's great news. We thank Senator Larkin for all the help, and it's always nice to hear that we're getting some grant money. That's great news. Thank you, Tom. Okay. Purchase order request. I believe everyone around here.
Make the motion to accept the purchase order as submitted.
Okay, there's a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Order of bills is here as well.
Yeah, I make the motion to accept the order of bills.
I'll second the
Okay,
motion.
there's a motion and a second. Any discussion on the order of the bills? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Minutes of the August 12th, 2014 town board meeting, which I believe we've all received. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the August 12th, 2014 meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Supervisor report. We're running real behind here, so I'm going to be real quick. I just want everyone to know, especially the seniors, that tomorrow we will be finally starting our restroom renovation here in this building. They'll be starting tomorrow. I know there's been, I believe, for probably about a month or so, they'll be working here. So our seniors will be meeting in the larger room in the back here instead of the regular room. So if there is any seniors here that haven't been advised that yet, I know they are working on that. Home removals we talked about. We took 2 homes down this week. For anyone who doesn't realize that is at zero cost to the taxpayers. That is a lien that will be put on the property. We're hoping we don't have to do that, but we are looking to, we're still working with FEMA to get reimbursed 100% of that. It's probably a 50-50 shot, but it is worth the battle. So we're hoping to get reimbursed from FEMA instead of the homeowners. Yard sale, you'll see a sign coming in this afternoon. That's September 14th, 8 to 4, right here at Kirkbride Hall in the front parking lot. If it rains, they will move it indoors. Family Fun Day, which is run by our Stony Point PAL, will be September 20th. That'll also be at Kirkbride Hall, outdoors. Our stage will be there. We'll have some music and some games, and I believe there's a, what do you call that when you fly across the air? A zip line. A zip line will be there as well. This Thursday, we'll have our memorial service for 9/11 at 7 o'clock at Town Hall. That'll be held right in the front steps, so if you're available 7 o'clock, come out and remember that horrible day. We will also, tonight, remind you that we will be closing this meeting, I don't know if it's probably the first time since I've been here that we close a meeting for someone that doesn't have a stroke. This man has played a huge part of our lives growing up and everything else, and that's Gary Zay, who passed away, owner of Haverstraw Transit. We haven't had a meeting since he's passed, so we'll be closing tonight's meeting in honor of Gary. I believe that's all. Okay, Police Department report, Chief.
Good evening. You should have in front of you the monthly report for the month of August. Number of calls for service was 727. Number of reported accidents was 29. Number of arrests were 55, 11 felonies, 25 misdemeanors, 19 violations. Fuel usage was 1,245 gallons. Traffic enforcement, 150 summonses. We had 4 youth officer sponsored events. PAL meeting, we had 13 youth court cases, which is a diversion program. We participated in the town's camp out and got a low-land hill with great success and utilized our North Rockland Explorer group to help out down there. And we continue to do our regular checks of the schools. We had 4 child safety seat installation events, speaking of which, we had up on our website and advertised today was one we did jointly with the town of Haverstraw at Helen Hayes Hospital. We have another one coming up on our Stony Point PD and PAL Family Fun Day. On the 20th from 12:30 to 3:30, we'll have officers up there to put in car seats for you on that day. We ran 1 commercial vehicle enforcement detail. We ran 5 special enforcement details with STEP and DWI enforcement. 40 hours of training and $226.50 was collected for the month. Total fees.
Chief, excuse me, what's this STEP detail?
That's special traffic enforcement. It's everything from speed enforcement, cell phone usage, aggressive driving, things of that nature. It's state-funded grants that we requested, received, and then we use for traffic enforcement. My time records for month August.
Move to accept the chief's time card.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Chief, that is signed. Thank you.
Supervisor spoke about it earlier, but just as a reminder, on the September 20th at Kirkbride, as he said, we'll be having the Stony Point Fall Festival Family Fun Day. Started a number of years ago with the police department, just trying to have a day for our residents to come out and see what we do, provide us some services, brought us some other fire department, EMS, our SWAT team, a few different people together, and it's growing year after year. Each one's kind of put their stamp on it. We started the Police Athletic League again that we used to have years ago. Mrs. Kessel says she smiles over there. She was a big part of that for us. It started up again and with some great success, and a lot of people, a lot of residents are involved and helping out. Andy Krieger, our youth officer, so if you'd like to get involved, please just reach out to him. They have a Facebook page, and of course on the department website gives you a lot of information, so anything you need to do. But they're working with Karen and Nigro also, and this, I think this will be a lot of fun this year, this fall festival they put together. Supervisor spoke about the zip line, which goes about 30 feet in the air and 156 feet long. So if you got a special someone you want to send out a zip line, come on up on the 20th. They're having the bouncy houses, the slides. They have about 30 vendors coming. The farmer's market, a petting zoo, airbrush tattoos. We have a child seat check that I talked to you about. Rock climbing wall, raffles, penny sales, an arcade trailer. It's quite a bit to do for the family and the kids and everything like that. I think it should be a fun day. The rain date is the following day, September 21st, which is that Sunday. So I encourage everybody to come up. We do have the information on our website. Today is our first day of the Youth Police Academy. We've had a lot of interest from the kids. We were running one a year. Now we've actually added a second one in the fall. Stony Point and Haverstraw does that together. Today was their orientation with their first class actually being September 11th, and it runs through November 20th. A little bit of information on what's going on. Supervisor, town board, you should also have in front of you the department overtime and sick leave for the month.
I'll make the motion to accept the overtime report.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any discussion on the police overtime report, sick leave? All in favor? Opposed? report, I spoke to Mr. Fusco this afternoon, and I was handing his report, things are going well there. Department reports are all ended in as well. And correspondence, there is one correspondence.
To the town board, the Stony Point Police Athletic League respectfully requests a waiver of peddler fees and bonds for vendors invited and attending the Stony Point Fall Festival and Family Fun Day fundraiser on Saturday, September 20th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Kirkbride Hall. Vendors have made monetary donations, donations in kind, merchandise donations, or agreed to donate 10% of any sales to the Stony Point PAL for attending the event at Kirkbride Hall. The Stony Point PAL is a registered 501c3 nonprofit charity organization registered with New York State, attempting to raise needed money to help build a skate park in Stony Point. Thank you for your consideration. We also have with that a list of the vendors, including food vendors.
Yes. I know I spoke with the town clerk and also Detective Krieger during the week. I know it was a little late to get on there, so I know he was going to send this letter. I think we can, obviously, we're all going to be in favor of this, but make a motion so we can do it legally here. So I'll make a motion to waive all waive the fees for all the peddlers for the BAL event on the 20th.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, John. Thank you. Correspondence. Oh, before we do our presentation, I just wanted to, I'm trying to read my handwriting. I just forgot to mention one very important thing. We're all here witnesses, but if anybody wants to go home and watch, today is the first day we're videotaping our meetings that will be available through our website. So, welcome aboard, guys and girls. Okay. That being said, we have a presentation from Turner Miller Group. Mr. Max is here again. This is about some zoning issues, but for the property where we are right now, the Letchworth property.
Hello again.
Hello, Max.
So now we're moving from the waterfront to Letchworth Village, and we're looking at zoning as well, with the purpose, again, of stimulating economic development and reuse of these structures that have been on this property for some time. I have provided the town board a report. It's been posted on the website, going through the considerations we looked at when we developed this proposed zoning. It included looking at the existing site, the use of the buildings that remain on the Letchworth Village site. We looked at the ownership of the area. We looked at the existing zoning, site constraints in terms of water bodies and wetlands and usage constraints such as the golf course. We looked at the constraints with the buildings, the existing buildings, what will keep them from being gainfully reused. We looked at traffic considerations, generally actually looking at Haberstraw's DEIS for their redevelopment. We looked at the identified traffic problems along Willow Grove Road from that study. We looked to the recently updated comprehensive plan, and we developed some guiding principles for what this zoning should accomplish. Read through them very quickly here. The Palisades Interstate Parkway provides pass-by traffic linking the site to major tourist destinations of Woodbury Commons and West Point. Additionally, casinos are likely to be approved in Orange or Sullivan County, as close as the adjacent communities of Woodbury and Tuxedo. 2. The town of Stony Point is largely suburban and rural in character and identity, and the site is surrounded by several established neighborhoods. The Patriot Hills Golf Course is a valuable resource both to the community and possible redevelopment. The nearby Harriman and Bear Mountain State Parks provide outstanding recreational resources to residents and visitors of the region. Stony Point is a community rich in history, and the history of the town, including Letchworth Village site, is important to preserve. Truck access to the site is extremely limited, and the existing market for senior housing, for sale housing of all types, and general office is extremely weak in the region. So starting off from that perspective and with those guiding principles, we looked at a range of uses that would and would not be appropriate for the site. And essentially what we came out with is a number of what we're calling incentive uses. And these are uses that would allow a developer to come in and be able to apply under an overlay zone that only considers the site as it exists today. These would include the hotel, spa, and conference center. It would have several requirements with regard to the number of rooms, the minimum square footage of conference center, minimum restaurant space, minimum recreational amenities, and it would also include an incentive that would allow a larger facility if they increase those facilities, such as conference facilities, restaurant, fitness, all of those. In other words, if you have a higher quality hotel, you can have more rooms. We looked at specialty sporting goods retail, and this would be retail similar to a Bass Pro Shops, a Cabela's, something that would be very at home near the park. We looked at something large. We don't want to have a lot of small shops here that take away from Route 9W. We're talking about a destination retailer. And so we suggested minimum floor areas, we suggested minimum parking standards, setback development coverage standards. Then we looked to private recreational use, and these are actually very popular in the region. The frozen ropes variety, Little League camps, sport camps, athletic training facilities, indoor athletic fields that may be in a bubble type structure, those type skating rink, equestrian center. We looked also at Parkway gasoline filling station. This is obviously not something that would be a large user in the site. This would be a small piece of any redevelopment here. But to get a high quality gasoline filling station with an associated larger retail element, such as a Quick Check or a Wawa or some other popular use that's right off the parkway, it seems to make a lot of sense. Medical office, surgical center, with the American Care Act, a lot of medical offices are consolidating their services. They're looking for large buildings. We have Crystal Run looking at possible locations in Rockland County. There are other providers in the region looking for this type of use. We felt it would be very appropriate in the Letchworth Village location. Sit-down restaurants, this is actually a use that would be a nice fit for adaptive reuse of the existing buildings. And they could also utilize the ambiance of the grounds. Neighborhood retail, this was a limited use, and this would be something that would only be permitted as an adaptive reuse in an existing building closer to Willow Grove Road. And that would be limited to convenience retail such as dry cleaning, convenience store, coffee shop, deli, ice cream shops. And again, they would be subject to adaptively reusing the existing buildings. They wouldn't be allowed to build new buildings. And lastly, film production studios. It has been suggested to us that these buildings are particularly good for film production, natural lighting, large open spaces, and so we added that as a potential adaptive reuse. Then we suggested that this zoning have a unique mechanism, which is an overlay district just over this area. It's not its own zoning. It doesn't change the underlying zoning. You can still do whatever you could previously. This would allow additional uses. It would allow, frankly, somebody to come in and adaptively reuse some of these spaces for restaurant, convenience retail, or other conforming incentive uses with a building permit, which would significantly speed the approval process. Other than that, it would be a standard application to the planning board. If you're going to do any new construction, you would have to come to the planning board. There are some additional standards that we put into zoning regarding saving certain landmark buildings. For example, Kirkbride Hall has to be maintained. The clubhouse has to be maintained. And also maintaining the views of Kirkbride Hall, so not allowing construction between Kirkbride Hall and Willow Grove Road. So that is sort of the overview of the zoning that we've developed. to come to you and to the public, tell us where we were before we engage in the environmental review going forward.
So, Max, why have we, it seems, why are we pursuing a scenario where the new overlay zone would maintain the existence of all of these structures?
It doesn't.
Okay,
I don't think I was clear. So there's a procedural incentive if somebody wants to come in and put a restaurant, for example, in the courthouse building, and they want to have some seating out front. There's an incentive process that allows them to do that with a building permit. It's a very quick and cheap approval process because they're really not changing anything. The building's there. They might be doing some grounds work. There has to be a check on parking that's done by the building inspector. But generally, it's a very quick and easy process. However, the zoning does allow you to remove buildings and rebuild in their spot. We say that there's actually a requirement that you photo document the building and make that photo documentation available in a public space, either town hall or here. We are allowing demolition of buildings. We are identifying certain buildings that cannot be demolished. One, again, is Kirkbride. There is provisions to allow additions to Kirkbride, but the front facade, the front 3/4 of that building must be preserved. Also, the golf clubhouse has to be preserved. And it's noted that this building also is likely to be preserved, as obviously it's the community center.
You know, my overarching concern, and by the way, I'm a big supporter of finally doing the zone change. It's something that has been a long time in coming. It enables us to actually promote this property to specific industries and to specific even companies and developers. But I think that one of the things we have to be concerned about is not creating zoning changes that will that could inhibit us from maximizing the tax revenue potential of the larger piece of property. If we're going to make it available to too many different types of things, where we've got small developments, a number of different small developments don't necessarily equal in terms of revenue. A larger developer coming in and actually investing more resources into a larger project. So I don't know. That's just my overarching feeling is that we need to make sure that we are, from a marketing standpoint, we have zoning that is going to maximize our ability to realize the type of revenue from this property that we've been hoping for all of these years.
And I understand that completely. And again, the only two buildings that have to be maintained are Kirkbride and the clubhouse, although there is incentive to use some of them, again, through the procedure. We do also require some design guidelines. They're very generic. We're not telling people they have to build in a certain fashion. We're saying things like they have to incorporate natural fieldstone into the architecture. We're telling them they have to, incorporate other design features that are prevalent throughout these buildings, with the rhythm of windows, things like that. But we are not saying you can't come in and purchase 3 or 4 of these buildings and put something like a hotel in, which you obviously couldn't put in to the existing building.
But if if you're opening it up to a gas station convenience store and a restaurant, then you're precluding a major developer from coming in and taking and having the ability to take a larger chunk of land that they might need for a hotel and conference center, or for a Bass Pro Shop, or a larger sort of destination retail. And so that's just kind of my concern, that we've opened it up, which is great, but at what point do we see diminishing returns from that, potentially? Because we've cast such a wide net.
Understood. That's a good point. We could certainly limit where you could use some of these small uses. The small retail convenience, again, can only be in the first building on Willow Grove Road on the right side there, coming up Patriot Hills Lane. I forget the designation of that particular building. It is in the report.
That's the clapboard building or the stone building?
That's the stone building.
Okay.
You know, we could limit, frankly, the restaurant also to a peripheral building so that you don't end up with a donut hole that you can't redevelop.
I think Tom makes a great point. I think that's exactly what he's trying to say, is if you're gonna put these smaller things, keep them towards, you know, the outside, the front, back corners, wherever.
Yeah.
Because, let's face it, we all know what's going on across the street, which they're talking about putting a Lego land across there that could possibly generate, you know, 20,000 people per day. We don't know where that's going to end up, but, you know, if something like that were to happen and they can figure out how to get traffic in through another way, not just Willow Grove Road, there's great possibilities for us here on this property. We don't want to certainly take a small little thing and stick it in the middle of this property and say, well, we could have done a lot with this, but this is in the way. So I agree that, you know, it needs to be kept towards the front.
That is a good point.
So, for instance, a quick check like that, I mean, that's going to, we don't have as much acreage as Haverstraw does.
Right.
So if you're going to put in, and believe me, I've heard from too many people, and I agree with them, we don't need any more gas stations, we don't need any more convenience stores, we don't need any more banks, and we don't need any more pharmacies. So, but if this is something that we were going to think about, you know, adding the retail component to that takes another, plus parking and everything else, is going to take up another, I don't know how much more space. And you've got ingress and egress from that particular facility. Does that really encroach on the larger parcel and make it less attractive to a major developer who wants to actually, you know, spend a significant amount of money here?
There would only be one feasible location, and that particular use would be limited to one location, which would be in front of that first building. But certainly we can also just, I mean, this is the zoning that the board wants, and if you feel that these uses aren't appropriate, certainly we can revise the zoning accordingly.
But we've also been waiting for a long time with the big developer. Supposedly a big developer is going to come in, and we've been waiting for 15 years now for a big developer to come in here and do something. He hasn't come here yet. So if we do little parts and we do the small place down by the road, I think that's a start. And we get something out of it. I don't know how much longer we can wait.
Well, we went through an RFP, it wasn't an RFP, it was called, what was it called? It wasn't an RFP, it was something else, where we designated all these, and we got nowhere. And I understand that was during the recession, and a period on that, but from
It was during the recession, and we weren't actually targeting specific industries or specific
Well,
companies.
actually, we were. I mean, I remember Louis Canapco, she was targeting some of them. We tried to keep it somewhat open, but it was targeted. I mean, we went a lot of, except for the gas station, that's different.
Mm-hmm.
The hotels, we always wanted the hotels. I mean, if Legoland comes, open hotel comes here. And we talked about the executive session, executive conference, because of the golf course, we've had that level of interest in the past. But anytime anybody came in here, it was always the population and the road access. So when you're looking at Legoland, if they're doing something like that, it's going to change if that happens, if that's even reality. But from the standpoint of our master plan, it's been 7 years, and now we just said, okay, add on these 2 addendums for the waterfront and here. So we do have to move on this.
I agree with you. I'm just trying to, I just don't want us to diminish our ability to attract major investment and, you know, attract a small investor to a portion of the site that then dissuades a larger investor from being able to come in and take more of the
Well,
land.
we have the right though too. I mean, right now we don't have anybody looking, so from that aspect.
That's the point of doing this.
Yeah.
If we have the zoning set, hopefully people take the big.
Yeah, I understand. And the other comment would be on this building here. I mean, we had thoughts of originally based upon, from a standpoint of somebody coming in big time and developing this property, basically from a standpoint of relocating and having a good community center, having a senior center, having a highway garage. All those things are going to be part of the process like that. So I don't think this building should be an untouchable building. I mean, Kirkbride always seemed to be, and the golf course, the center up there, we have contracts up there. Then there was an issue relating to the caterer versus the hotel catering. So those things are kind of limitations. I don't think this building should be a limitation. location.
Is this building sort of saved in this
No.
current plan? Okay.
No, that was said more from perspective of what the town would want to do. The two buildings that are preserved by this code are the clubhouse, because they're not within this overlay. The lines of this overlay end very short from the side of this building. They don't include, for example, the driving range. And they go too short of the lake on the other side. They don't include Camp Venture to the north, and they go all the way down to Willow Grove. In that area, the only sacred, you can't touch it, is the front 3/4 of Kirkbride Hall. Again, you can add on to the back of Kirkbride Hall and expand that and incorporate that into your design, but you're not allowed to remove it as it exists today, as it appears from the street. Across the street, and I think you have a very good point, and I think the way you address it is you limit some of these smaller uses to a certain vicinity from Willow Grove Road, retaining the upper end of this property for the larger uses. Even beyond this zoning, I think you're going to run into some practical problems, or there might be other steps that you could take, frankly, to move this along. One is, and I suggested this originally, is you may want to enter into a more robust seeker that includes a generic environmental impact statement that looks at some of these uses, does the environmental impact for them, and that way if a developer wants to come in and propose something that you've already looked at, they don't have to go through the process again. That could be very effective because, as you know, the seeker process adds, to a private developer can add $100,000 to $200,000 of cost to the process, and then you're still not guaranteed an approval at the end of it. So doing that in advance makes the property much more attractive. The other thing that's kind of a limitation here, has always been a limitation, is the PIP has always held a stance that they don't like any private signage to be visible from their right-of-way. That makes it very difficult to do economic development. I suggest in this report that you may want to reach out to PIP and start talking about service signs. A lot of highways have service signs. This exit, you can have this, this use. It can be done attractively, address their concerns, but still have this project site have value to it. Because the alternative, frankly, is if you want this site to be visible to the PIP, you just allow somebody to build a very large sign. Especially coming down PIP, you have a clear view across to the site. But that doesn't make sense. So it really does make sense to talk to PIP and see if they can come up. They allow signs for their service station as you're going south in New Jersey, but they won't let you put on this exit, there is a quick check or there is a whatever. We already have a Dunkin' Donuts and a, I think it's Mobile, right? Right here on this job. No. The other thing I thought is it made a lot of sense, possibly after you get through the zoning process, is to subdivide the property. Now, you guys are able to do that fairly quickly. It's your property, your government. Private takes a lot longer to subdivide property. They have to come in, they have to jump through a lot more hurdles. So it makes sense maybe to establish parcels. That way, if somebody comes in as an interested party in purchasing parcels, they could say, hey town, we'd like 1 and 2 and 3 to build a hotel, or we'd like 2 and 3 to build a Bass Pro Shops, whatever it might be. The land is, again, more ready for purchase by whatever private property interest you may have.
I also remember the other problem during the RFP was even designating how much space do we have, identifying, like you're saying, the parcels. We didn't know how much we had.
Right.
So that's an issue too. You identify uses, but then really, like, which areas are you talking about? When you start to go and divide, take Kirkbride out, take the golf course out, so take the roads out.
Right. Well, we are, there is a plan in this study that really does just identify, and Wilbur, that's the name of the first building on the right coming up Patriot Hills, is Wilbur Hall. So that's the one that's sort of across from Kirkbride. So those two buildings are really the ones that I think are treated differently than the rest, in that you could, not that you want to absolutely positively have to say Wilbur, but it makes sense to allow some limited small use in that structure, and it wouldn't necessarily impact the large-scale development.
Or in that area if you're doing that.
Or in that area if you're doing that.
I mean, you're not going to have a gas station or whatever.
Right. You could probably actually do both. You could probably have a fuel service station in front of Wilbur Hall where you could have some retail.
I'm just so everyone listen, I know you're throwing out Bass Shop and all these other things. These are all just grabbed out of the air. We don't have these people interested. I don't want that to be, anyone would think that we're trying to do this for Bass Shop or, what else did you say? Some other big names.
Cabela's?
Yeah, whatever.
Cabela's is going into Woodbury.
Is that a big hunting store and fishing?
Yeah, it's a Bass Pro Shop.
I just don't want people to think that we have these and we're trying to do this for them.
But going through this process enables us to actually reach out to these types of companies now with a more defined sense of what is permissible. That's why it's important to do.
And that's really gets me to my last recommendation, that's non-zoning related, is it also makes sense to put together a retail prospectus for this, to put some sort of glossy together that highlights the asset of this property in relationship to Harriman State Park, in relationship to Great Bear Mountain, in relationship to the route to Woodbury Commons and possibly casinos in the future. All of these features that make this site in particular valuable for development.
So what's our next step?
So if you agree, I mean, it sounds like I have some instructions here for amending the zoning. Again, I'm suggesting that you open this up to informal public comment. You will have a public hearing, but again, before you go through the environmental process, it's just like with the waterfront like we had today, to gather informal public comment so that we're better prepared to come back with a final product that addresses the concerns. So I would suggest we open this up to public comment, and then I go ahead and make the revisions that you had suggested and enter into the environmental review.
Prior to the comment or after?
No, I mean now, not tonight.
No, open up. No, I'm trying to figure out what the process is saying is we're making the changes prior to the public comment.
And not to push it back, but we want the public to know that they can come here and speak out on this project. So to do it tonight would not give the opportunity to some of the other residents.
We'll set it up for the first
October meeting.
That gives you a month. The first October meeting, we'll even set it for a 6 o'clock meeting like we did tonight. Everyone's available. Town board wise, 6 o'clock.
Again, this is informal. You will have to do a formal one after you do the environmental review.
Well, very similar to what we just had tonight with the waterfront.
Yes.
That's exactly what we want to have here.
What I'm saying is, why are we going to change anything? Why don't we have that public meeting and then? No, I thought you was going to change it then. You were going to change it.
I already have comments tonight that I need to change this document on, based on, to limit those small uses to the front properties, for example.
Does everybody, I'm not talking about school here, does everybody?
Yeah, I just don't want to limit the uses yet. I would limit, okay, what you're saying. I agree with that.
I would suggest that if you're going to have an informal public hearing in October, you have it on this document. And then I'll change things accordingly.
Kind of
All
going.
right, so let's make a motion now. I'll make a motion for, what's the October meeting? I don't know the date. The first October meeting, 6 o'clock for a public workshop meeting to be held here
I'll second
to
the motion.
discuss the Letchworth Village zoning. Or Letchworth Village zoning. October 14th.
You have a second.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Max.
Thank you.
Cancel that in for the 14th.
Say again?
You're good for the 14th? See, I didn't even look, we just did it.
Yeah, I better be available, right? That's the,
Second Tuesday of the month.
that should be fine.
Okay.
I had a conflict this week because of the Memorial Day holiday. The 14th. It's good.
Excellent. Thank you, Max. Okay, we'll get right into the agenda and go right through this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move up. I see two gentlemen sitting here from the Stony Point Center who have been waiting very patiently. And I was looking to see where you guys are on the agenda, so I'll move you up. You're more than welcome to say the rest of the meeting, but I'm not sure. But let's see, where are you on here? I believe it was number 5. If the board will just skip to number 5 on their agenda, thank you in advance for the use of. Thank you. Number 7, it's, dear sirs, on behalf of Stony Point Center, I'm requesting that any further building fees be waived for this project. The cost of construction and materials is funded solely through charitable contributions and grants. Thus, we can only proceed as far as those funds allow. As of November 2013, the Stony Point Center has paid $5,700 in fees to the town, $3,800 for initial permit, $1,900 for a 1-year extension. We anticipate that we'll have the project completed by spring of 2015. However, that means we will be obligated to secure another extension this November. As a fellow Stony Pointer, I know from personal experience how valuable the Stony Point Center is to our citizens. Case in point would be housing of our residents that were hardest hit by Hurricane Sandy. I will be in attendance on the September 9th meeting to answer any questions or concerns. I don't think you're going to have any questions or concerns from this board. I think we discussed it earlier, but this is definitely, I know firsthand the hard work that was put in during Sandy and all the people that we took in. We certainly appreciate that, and I think it's the least we can do is here is waive the fees. So that being said, I would make a motion to waive the fees for the permit for the Stony Point Center.
Second?
Okay, for a motion and a second, any discussion? Is there, you guys are good? Okay.
I just want to thank the center for everything that you do for this community.
Let's do the
Looking for
vote.
more chances, so you tell us what you need us to do and we'll do it.
Excellent, and we appreciate everything you guys have done so far, and we look forward to working with you in public, maybe in the future. We have to vote on that. There's been a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 1 is a policy of use of the soundstage. This came up last month, so I thought I'd put a few things together, and then we looked into what Orange Town was doing with theirs. Just a couple ideas that they gave us, and I just jotted them down here. I'll just, like the stage never leaves their town, so I would suggest that if we're going to be doing this, we don't allow our stage to leave town, unless there's something going up in one of our neighboring towns, Hampshire or such, that we can work together. What they do is they have one man stay with the stage the entire time, wherever it is, and they have a second person that goes with them to deliver for 2 hours, and then to break, to set it up, and then to break it down at the end. So they would receive, one guy would receive the amount of pay for whatever the length of the event is, and one employee would find 2 hours to set it up and 2 hours to break it down. Obviously, the user of it, we're not looking to make money and go into business or anything, but at least cover the expenses of our employees who are trained to open and close this. It is an expensive thing, so we do need to keep our employees there. So it'll be my suggestion, and I'm just throwing it out there, to have, kind of follow that same, where we would have 2 guys there to set up and break down, 1 guy there the whole time. And then, obviously, the driver would have to see CDL license to tow it, and it would be paid for through the organization that is using it. Now, that's not to say that we're just going to, pick, a birthday party off the street and have them go put it in their backyard, but it's, it's about, something like, nonprofit organizations or whatnot. Does everybody have any other comments?
Yeah, just comment on that would be, is that a lot of the usage could probably be nights or weekends type of thing, so you're gonna have a lot of hours, you're gonna have overtime, that kind of stuff. So, and the other thing is you only have a certain amount of people who can drive it, move it, so it's gonna be select, so getting the availability of those people and their pay rate versus the fee, you have to come up with.
Well, the fee would have to be for the cost of whoever is running there. I know Jared's here, or from the Parks Department, and Larry, who have CDL licenses, whoever is in your department, you guys know who can do it, and who's been trained on it. It is pretty easy. There's almost, I don't want to say opens itself, but there's a lot of buttons and whatnot. So that would have to be taken into, but I don't think we could set a fee. I think we'd have to set not an hourly fee, but whatever it costs us, whoever is there for that day, whether it be someone that's making $10 an hour, someone making $12 an hour, it would be, would be different. I'm just throwing out ideas, and that's what other towns do, or at least Orange Town, that's the one we
Yeah, but the first thing they ask you, what's the cost gonna be, and say approximately,
Well, we
is
could
rate,
figure it
how
out.
long it's gonna be.
Well, there's only, I mean, we'd have to find out who's available, if it's a Saturday or Sunday. Listen, it's overtime for them, and it's no cost to the taxpayers. It's gonna be the cost to who's ever using the, state.
So something needs to be in this, just to ensure that what you're talking about is dealt with. So it's not a set fee, and it will be determined on.
Yeah, I would say, there is different employees who've been here longer. If someone's here a year, they're obviously making less than someone that's been here for 10 years. So I don't know if we could really set a price, but we could say it's the hourly fee for the employee that's working. They're pretty close. I mean, it's not going to be, hundreds of dollars difference. I mean, and this is just something I don't think we're going to have. I mean, I know the PAL is using it. I was just thinking we can discuss this a little further down the road, and maybe on the new year set up something in writing and have some kind of not local law, something that's in effect.
But and the level of use, it's like, we have a lot of the departments are complaining now that they don't have full staff, unless you want to be moving around state.
No. That being said, that this would be on office time. This is, I mean, most people are not going to be using it during, 2 o'clock on a Monday afternoon. If that is the case, then they'll have to be paid. We're not going to lose employees that are going to be doing other work for the town. Most of the time, 90% of the time, I would say it's probably a Saturday or Sunday or a Friday night, or even during the week, but at night after work. But again, it's just an idea. It's something, and of course, nobody would use it without permission of this town board. We would have to have a resolution passing each thing. Sure, they would have, we have insurance on it, but that's probably would have to stay in Stony Point. Again, we're not, I would say 90% of the time would probably be, somewhere in one of our parks or firehouse parking lot, if there's a parade or something like that. That's the only expenses. Again, we're not taking this in someone's backyard to have a party, but, it's just, I know it's brought up, it's something we look into and we can.
Did we check into the insurance, our insurance on the stage versus the insurance that people have to use it?
I don't think we ever really looked into that as far as insurance. I think,
They have to provide a ride.
I guess they would have to, yeah.
Well, the problem is a lot of times we waive insurance, we waive for different entities, whether,
Not
for
profit
profit.
stuff. No.
Okay, just
If Mr. McDonald made a trip to Orange Town.
Orange Town, you have to have your own insurance.
They would have to have it covered.
They have to cover it.
Yeah, we have to insure to ourselves.
Absolutely.
So we have to make sure there's nothing restricting us in the insurance that we can move it. I mean, the intention is not,
Yeah, the user would have to provide us with insurance.
Right.
but there is insurance on our side,
Oh,
too,
yeah.
that we have to make sure we're not
Yeah,
violating.
And an individual could not rent it. It has to be.
I would think it has to be an
Organization.
organization. I would choose. If there's a fundraiser or something going on in town, where they're raising money for, whatever. As long as it's an organization that's put together, it's a committee put together. It's not just Jonathan down the street who wants to have a party.
What about any thoughts about relating to the ground surface, if it's,
That's all
drain
the
out
training.
middle of the mud somewhere?
No, that's all would have to be, obviously, before,
Yes,
but our guys who were trained on it know how to level and everything else, if the ground wasn't perfectly level. It's just something we can certainly, we're not gonna make any decisions on tonight, I don't think, but
No,
we can,
just give you an idea.
I just wanted to bring it up, I know it was brought up, so, we can come up with some more ideas, and maybe we can even reach out to a few more towns and see what we can do. I don't want to say I know, but I think, a few of the towns don't allow other people to use, but, that's just what I'm hearing. Okay? Okay, number 2, discuss a Little League Fields parking lot. I know this was brought up as well last month. I had conversations with Jared, Jared's getting a lot of action tonight. Jared, from the Parks Department, Mr. Brisson as well. We had a department head meeting today that we discussed. We even had conversations with Mr. Smythe from the golf course. Clippings, I know everything has been pushed back or is in the process of being pushed in the back. We're talking about putting blocks, concrete blocks along the back portion of this, being able to drive up to the back in a fenced-in area where children would not be able to get in, and then actually be able to dump the clipping, have 2 or 3 separate dumpsters with possibility of, grassing one, clippings from the golf course. Question come up about odor, because the ball fields are there and homes are surrounding there, so that would have to be emptied at least once a week or, as soon as it's full. But, I think we are making a little progress up there, a lot, and it's just a matter of going out and buying the block where I know we're going to be looking at some spot in the future, but we gotta make do with what we have right now, and,
I raised this issue at the last meeting. I want to thank both Larry and Jared for responding to Little League and to our call to try and do things a little differently up there and to start cleaning it up. It is starting to look cleaner. And speaking with Jared, talking about privacy fencing, gates up there so that we can prevent kids from climbing on this stuff. Is also part of the plan, and that's a welcome thing. And I want to thank both of you and your teams for what you did over the last 4 weeks to start the process of cleaning this up. And I know Mr. Rissing is going to be putting down some gravel, leveling this out, and providing a lot more space for the Little League to be able to park, especially as those fields get more use as the league expands. So thank you both, and I look forward to seeing sort of the action plan as it's developed here in the coming weeks.
Number 3, service contract agreement for the Letchworth buildings. This is repair burners and IAC. This is our yearly contract that we have with them. They come up and do all the work for the heaters in the winter. I'll make a motion to, and we do have the bids here. So I'll make a motion to, I think we have not bids, but other quotes, thank you. At the cost of $9,885 per year, which I believe is the same exact as last year. If it's not, it's like $80 more, which I was a little confused. I thought maybe I wrote it down wrong. But it's right near it. So I'll make that in form of motion. Second. Motion and second, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 4, real property chargebacks. This is a resolution needed to charge back for the homeowner's expenses paid on behalf of the home, by town on behalf of the homeowner. This is around when we had to put, it's very similar to what we're doing with the homes that we're taking down, with putting a lien on the property, putting on their taxes actually. This is for fences that were around some of the properties down there that we had to remove to get everything in order. There's a few different homes, I believe there's 4 or 5 on here, and it's just for the expenses of, after Sandy, that we had to put fences around these properties to make it secure.
And the add-on was for the first house that was taken back.
I'm sorry?
And the add-on that I gave you tonight, the
Yeah.
invoice for the first house that was taken back.
I don't believe I had that paper.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, this, I'm sorry, yes.
The question I got is that every time we're gonna have a charge, are we gonna vote on it and make a resolution? I mean, isn't there's a regulation law that requires that we could charge it back anyway? So are you just trying to document it from that standpoint?
These are the ones that were early on with the fences. When we removed the fences, we never charged them from the beginning. We had fences put up 2 or 3 days after the storm, where we didn't have this law in effect. So that's what I was doing.
Well, so the way I read the resolution, I want to make a resolution individually for these certain charges.
Right.
Versus the law already states that we can charge back charges if we incur them. So we're not going to bring every single charge as we go forward on it. That's my point.
Well, yeah, we have to put, Lord, Brian?
Yeah.
We have to.
If you already have a specific property, you could state that this resolution would approve any future charges, but of course you won't know what they are unless they come before you. The statute gives you the power to assess and levy these charges. It doesn't mean that you choose to. So the purpose is basically, if you have the charges, kind of any expense, at least it comes before you so you see what's being assessed. This passed a resolution authorizing it, so it becomes somewhat of a form on the same property. If it's a new property, then you're assessing new charges, but it's really just so the board is seeing it and deciding under the statute, we are going to levy these charges, we think they're legitimate.
Okay, got you. I'm trying to figure out what I did with mine. I think I put it in the abstracts.
You did.
Oh, okay, so as long as you found it, I don't want that to be a confusion there. Okay, Jim, I think the main reason we do this is it's pointing out the exact addresses and showing how much each home is, more for information than anything to show, who's paying how much money. It's not just a flat rate across, one's $1,000, one's $475. If there's 3 homes together, we split 3 ways, we use 1 fence around everything, so
We have the right anyway to do it, it's with the resolution now. Okay,
All right.
just a question.
I'll make a resolution ordering assessment of expenses against land pursuant to Chapter 78 of the Town Code of Stony Point.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Yeah.
Aye. Opposed? Number 5, mass gathering permit for Hospice. Thank you in advance for the use of Riverfront Park for the Monster Mash, because it's a fundraiser for Hospice. We're hoping the fee for the use of the park would be waived.
I move that we waive the fee for the use of Riverfront Park for the purpose of the hospice fundraiser.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I guess I have a question, I'm not sure if anybody can answer. Is this the same event that usually goes on at the vendor property on the pumpkin, shed?
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
Oh, so they're moving down?
Hospice is moving in.
Oh, okay, so they're changing location, okay. Just wanted to
Cookies
make
and
sure.
target.
Okay. Number 6 is approve resolution home rule legislation. You know what, actually? Yeah, please do. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor, members of the board. Basically, I'm combining 2 agenda items, number 18, which is the resolution of a pension grievance, and this home rule legislation, because they're very much interrelated. Briefly, the background, as you may know, there was a grievance filed concerning officers, a couple of officers that were in the incorrect pension plan. That started back in 2011, before some of you were on the board, proceeded to a hearing, and following the hearing, the town and the PBA saw that there could be a potential resolution which would save the town $250,000 to $300,000. And fortunately, that did pan out, and we came to a resolution, or a proposed resolution, with the PBA that would allow state legislation to be passed, which is required to correct someone and put them into another pension plan. The board has previously filed a home rule request. Legislation was passed by the Senate and the Assembly and was enacted into law in July of this year. Before we take the final step in the resolution to cause that enrollment period to be open to these officers to get into the right system, we had recommended that a stipulation be entered into between the town and the PBA to settle that grievance and proceeding that was still technically open, and it was held in abeyance, and so it remains open now. We presented a stipulation to the PBA, which you have before you, and that stipulation was signed by the PBA council, so basically we need 2 resolutions tonight. The first one would be, and then basically that resolution says the PBA will withdraw the grievance and will close the matter, and now the ball is basically in the PBA and the officers' court. They have to actually enroll themselves in the plan once this plan is open. The town has no control after that, so the stipulation basically says, if you don't do it, the grievance is closed, it's up to you now. So that's the gist of the stipulation. And then the second resolution will be that the town will assume the additional costs. And roughly, it's a $28,000 upfront cost, and then it would be about $14,000 a year, as opposed to that $250,000 to $300,000 cost, which was at risk, at the time the grievance was filed. And there's 1 full-time officer affected by the stipulation of settlement. The other 2 officers are part-timers. They're not represented by the PBA, but the controller's office wanted, the pension system wanted everybody corrected at the same time. So this would allow those 2 part-time officers and the 1 full-time officer to now enroll in Section 384D, which is the plan that all of the other officers are currently enrolled. If you don't have any questions, I'll proceed with the resolutions, but if you do.
My only question is that the resolutions and the agreements all ensure that if they make an error, it's on their side, right?
That's correct.
Because that's what started this whole thing in the first place.
Yes, this is conditioned on us filing the paperwork with the controller's office, but once that enrollment period is open, these officers have until June 30th of 2015 to enroll in that plan. We can't force them to enroll. Of course, it's a better plan, and we expect they will. But if they fail to do that by June 30th, 2015, that's the end of it, and there can be no grievance after that with respect to this.
Okay, so the first resolution is basically one that is given to us by the controller, and it requires that the town state that be it resolved that the governing board of the town of Stony Point does hereby assume the additional cost required to provide the reopening of section 384D of the retirement and social security law pursuant to chapter 175. I'm sorry, that's the second resolution. The first one is authorizing me to execute the stipulation of settlement, to authorize the supervisor to execute any documents, to place the 3 officers, it's Officer Dennis Tobin, part-time officer Christopher Shulock, and part-time officer Thomas Clark into the open enrollment period in section 384D.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and the second resolution.
Let's close that up.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'll second.
I moved it, so.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next.
Okay, and the second resolution, which I just read, is the document that would be filed and required to be filed with the controller, and that would just acknowledge that the town will assume the additional cost for putting those officers into the plan, and then we would submit all those documents to the controller, and the town would be done with it.
Okay, make that in form of a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Newman.
Okay, thank you.
Number 7, request to waive fees for the building.
That's it.
It's late. I've been here since 6. Okay, let's go down again.
Number 8.
Number 8, thank you. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Discuss Toro's irrigation contract for the golf course. There's been a motion by Mr. White and a second by Mr. Javines for FC resident. Oh my gosh. For, I just want to name the company. Yes, Toro at SNS. There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
How much more is this?
This is actually a little more, but since the golf course has been open, they have to upgrade their hardware and their software and their support services to catch up with the 2014. So it is more than last year. I don't have an exact number, but it is in here somewhere. But after speaking with Joe, it is certainly something that they need to do to continue the great work to do with the golf course. I want to say this is about 200. So it's about $100.
2002.
2002.
No issues.
2002. I think that mine's older than that. Okay. There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, authorize legal services by special town council. It's a resolution authorizing legal services for special town council for general municipal law 207C matters. This is used to use a different firm for 207C cases. Not that we don't have any outstanding right now, but if we do need to hire new counsel. So I'll make that in form of a motion to hire Kirkland McCartney to cover the 207Cs or when a police officer goes out in this building.
I'll second it.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 10 is the New York State Training Conference. Hereby request it's for the Justice Court. Cost of hotel and meals is approximately $597. This is part of our training, so I'll make a form of a motion to allow the training conference.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 11, approved retirement payout. This is approved payout for our former finance director who was retired. The payout is here, 30 days of vacation, and these days will be paid for at a rate of $10,970.40 as our payout. Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. So, is she allowed to carry time over, or is this in her contract?
This is-
She gets vacation days that she carries
Well,
over?
anyone who has, I don't want to say so many years, I'm not exactly sure the amount of years, but anyone with vacation days, they cannot, correct me if I'm wrong, sick days are not payable if you're not here so many years, but vacation days are. It's a common thing that if you're having, she's using her days for retirement. If she's old enough for retirement, which I just gave away her age, to get, her sick days would go into her, am I saying that right? Into her retirement, package?
You sure it's retirement and just paid out of vacation? She was only here for.
She's here 9 years. Well, not
This
years.
says, this says 30 days vacation.
Yeah.
So she's getting paid for sick or vacation?
She get paid 30
She
days
gets paid
vacation.
vacation. I think she retired, but she's getting paid for her vacation.
Right.
I don't think it has anything to do with retirement.
No, he's asking if sick days. Sick days go into your retirement. You can hold your sick days into your retirement.
I didn't ask sick
Not to
days.
get sick. Oh.
I'm sorry, I'll just be clear, I didn't ask sick days, what I was asking was, she has 30 days vacation.
She took the vacation prior to her retirement.
I'm lost, so then why are we?
She's getting paid for the 30 days that she has when she retired. She has 30 days sick day.
Unused.
Anyone, yeah, unused sick days.
Vacation.
Vacation.
It's a carryover vacation.
So that is my question. To be clear, not sick days, vacation days. So we're paying her, she has 30 days vacation on the books that we're paying for her. How many vacation days did she get a year?
I can answer that. Anyone who is in the town 10 years, I believe it's 30 vacation days. Anyone who's here, I believe the first year I'm going to go with 2 weeks. No, 2 weeks. And then as you gradually go up, it's like another week and a week. And when you get to 10, you do cap off at 30 days a
Okay,
year.
so this is for her vacation that she
Yes,
didn't use?
yes.
Thank you.
You do cap off that at 30.
No.
Okay. So there's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 12 is the approved. Number 12 is the Simmons recovery contract. We keep bringing this up simply for the reason that we don't expend it long enough and it's much money, but I'll explain. People see this contract not to exceed $75,000. That certainly doesn't mean that we're paying $75,000. It's 87.5% reimbursable right now. That's the rate they're anticipating. So this is the company that we hired to get all of our reimbursements from FEMA. They're actually the company that's working on trying to get us this money for the homeowners as well. So it's not the $75,000. That's what the total would be. We'd be reimbursed 87%. Right now, we're probably only a couple $1,000s. But remember that these people are working hard to get us money, and they have. So a lot of that money would never have reached the town if we didn't have this company working for us. So it's a great company, and again, it's at 12% of what 87% is refunded to us, reimbursed, I should say. So what we need to do is just extend it to 75,000 because they're over that. Based on this, maximum net contract expenses would be paid would be 9,300. That's the maximum. So I don't want anyone to see that 75 get nervous. Everyone understand? Did I explain that too? Good enough, I did. Okay, I'm making a formal motion to extend the contract for Simmons Recovery.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Number 13 is the emergency payout for irrigation pump. This is emergency $1,925 for the replacement of a pump used for irrigation. The pump was hit by lightning on 8/20/2014. The work is done by Stewart and an emergency contract. So, thank you, Mr. White. There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Number 14 is to set public hearing for sign law. This is something that we're not going to do tonight, but this is something that we were discussing earlier. I know we brought it up sometime back about an electronic information board. It's basically a TV screen, and if anyone was at the meetings maybe a month ago, a month and a half ago, whatever it was, we had someone from CEIS come up and give us a brief presentation of what it was. It's something that I thought we would have to set a public hearing for to discuss further, but I'm really not 100% sure we have to. We're going to look into this. I talked to special counsel this afternoon on what to do about this, so I'm going to ask the board if we could table this for at least 2 weeks while council gets some information together on the process that we would have to follow to get this done. Sounds good with that? Yep. Okay. Number 15 is discuss tax cap. This is something I just wanted to bring up to the board's attention, that if we were, and we've been working on the budget since early May, and I know I've had conversations with most of the board members. I think I'm on down meeting with Mr. White, and to discuss my proposed budget, which will be handed to this board in 2 weeks on the 23rd of September. And we do not have to make a decision on this tonight or anything else, but we're working on numbers that's going to be very, very close to the 2% cap. And just in case we do have to go over it, which we're hoping we don't, we will have to have a public hearing on that, I believe, or we'll at least have to pass the law. You gave the paperwork. But anyway, we don't have to do it tonight, but I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention that if we do not get where we want to go, that we will have to discuss that in the very near future. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, that's all. We're hoping we don't have to.
Is there also a change based on the inflation factor, the reason that there was a change?
What, the 2%?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like 1.56, but actually it's less than 2%. Number 6.
If you go over the 1.56,
We would have, if we were to go over the 1.56 total levy to increase, we would have to pass a resolution by majority vote to go above the tax cap.
But
Every time.
it's the levy,
It's the levy,
it's
yeah.
not just.
I'll give you an example. And I probably should have mentioned it before during my supervisor's address. School taxes. I'm sure many people received their school taxes on Friday, and our school taxes, our school kept within the new tax cap rate, whatever it is, and I believe that they only raised it 0.25%. I believe it's in that area. But when people call me up and asking why am I paying 5.8 or 6% more, the reason behind that is simple. They raised, I'm going to use numbers, these are not the numbers, but if it's $100, they have to raise to pay for all their schooling, and NRG is paying $30 of that $100, and they come to so $70 has to be picked up by the taxpayers. If they have an agreement with NRG, which they did, a pilot program, where instead of paying, and again, these are not the numbers, all right? I'm just picking numbers so it's easy to have. At $30 where they came to an agreement, so now you only have to pay $20 for the next 10 years and we'll go forward. Well, someone has to make up that extra $10. So that's what happened this time. They did keep under that rate, but however, one of their largest, payers is paying a lot less this year, which means that we're all going to be picking up that tab. The good news on that is that we'll be reimbursed from the state for the total of the raise from last year's budget to this year's budget. So if you got a bill in the mail and it was an extra $300 this year, we're being told by the state that we will be receiving the refund check in the mail conveniently right before election day. Convenient.
Can they ever tell you what you get when you wait for the check to arrive in the mail?
Well, I could only tell what I'm told. So
taxes won't go down.
that's the good news. So right now, it looks like, well, not looks like, our rates for the town of Stony Point were 5.8-ish, and the tax rates for Havishua was 3.6 or 7, in that ballpark. So it was very, very close. Actually, I know we call it win lose every year, but we probably would have won again if we didn't have that pilot program. So next year we're certainly going to win. And I shouldn't say win, but we'll have better rates than our shared school district. Okay, I know we were in the middle of doing something like that sidetrack there, so I just want to make sure everyone knew about the tax cap. So is there any more discussion on that?
Just to clarify,
Yes.
it would be a local law that has to be passed on a resolution, so it would be.
It would,
this
right.
sometime.
So by the 23rd, when I hand my proposed budget out, or preliminary budget, we will have to make a decision then to set a public hearing for early October, so we could do it. But yeah, right. It has to be done just before you pass the budget. Okay?
No, I was aware you were looking to have an increase. That'd be interesting.
Mr. White, I am certainly not looking to have an increase.
Add this to the.
I'm not adding anything. I'm explaining something to you guys right now. Supervisor Finn up here is one of 5 board members. If anything went up, the cost, each and every one of us sitting here made decisions to do that, and hopefully we won't have to do that. But to sit here and say that my budget's going to be increased is certainly something that is not my intentions. Right now, I can tell everyone in this room that I'm at 0% right now. However, the way the shifts are, it is leaning a little higher towards the commercial properties, which is very exciting to me, and we're trying to come up with ways to get our budget down, no doubt about it. We're watching every penny we spend. We're giving fair contracts out to our police, to our CSEA. These are 2 issues that we worked on this year. And I believe they were both 5-0 votes. If you take a 2.5% increase to the Stony Point Police Department right now, that brings me right over 2%. So we've had very good spending. I've watched every penny, so I'm certainly not looking to raise taxes. And hopefully we won't have to, but I'm just letting the board know that this is a tax, it is a law that we would have to pass if if we get to that point. Anything else? Number 16, change of title. This is for the Parks Department. I know Jared is here, and I'm going to make a suggestion to the board. I know we've discussed this as well, that I know there's been, we have a great department up there, but one of our employees has been in and out of having some health issues, but we'll be taking care of him and be back on his feet in no time. But I mean, right now, the board has discussed with one of our employees that we will be changing the title of Mr. Sculptor to maintenance supervisor. That is what it's called. It's basically the department head of the Parks Department, working alongside of the maintenance supervisor of grounds. So I'll make a motion to, I guess we'll call it promote Mr. Jared Salter to maintenance supervisor of the Parks Department.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Jared, and keep up the great work. You're doing a great job. Number 17 is nominate police officer. This is something we've been discussing as well. We have an officer that is looking to retire come March. He's our only Spanish-speaking. We're looking to replace, to put another Spanish-speaking officer on our department, and we're at the number of 24 right now, and I believe 25 is our new number. We're not ever, I don't want to say we'll never be there, but we used to have 30 police officers, and right now we're looking to, at least I am, and I think most of this board is, for the number of 25, and to make that 25, I'm going to make a motion to nominate Daniel Eilis nominate Daniel Eilis to the Stony Point Police Department. This is obviously the first step in doing this. This could take weeks, months, or whatnot, and hopefully by the end of the year we can have him on be forced to help us with our crazy overtime. Move that form of motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any discussion?
This police officer is in the numbers that you,
Yes.
is incorporated into the numbers that you were given.
In my budget?
Yeah.
Yes.
For next year.
For 15.
15.
Yes. Yes, it is.
And then what would be, so when would this officer actually be on?
Well, we wouldn't know exactly when it would start. It would have to go through the process. Chief, maybe you can explain better, but I know it has to go through the county.
Okay.
No, if you want to go there, just so you can hear it.
Just an explanation of the process. Your first step you're taking tonight is to nominate somebody. Department of Civil Service in Rockland County presents a list. It's a nominating list, which is what we would be signing tonight. They tell you the grade range of the people eligible for that position, which Daniel Eilis is one of those candidates. We sign that, we send that back to them, and at that point they start to clear those people. They put them through medicals, psychologicals, physicals, and in this particular case, because it's a Spanish-speaking officer, we'll go through a Spanish proficiency. At some point, they'll notify us that that person is eligible for appointment. At that time, they'll return what's called an appointing list. At that point, we'll come back to you and request to permanently appoint that person. I would say that because of testing, and we're on the 9th of the month, we have to hit each one of the disciplines there with the medical doctors, psychologists, and the people who administer that. Probably someplace in 3 or 4 weeks, I'm not really certain. I'll ask them, how quick they can turn it around, but I would think someplace in that ballpark.
And it's been probably 4 weeks since you and I talked about this, so just to refresh my memory. He's been through the academy?
Yes, he's currently a New York City police officer.
Right, all right. So he's already on the job someplace, this would be transferring here. Okay.
Correct. Other questions?
No, I just want to point out that during the process, you informed us, we've been talking about this for a long time now.
Yes, sir.
The whole thing, so this was planned from a standpoint of the process because of the budget implications, et cetera.
Yes.
So just want the audience to know that, that's why we're bringing up questions about the process and the budget, et cetera. So as we look at this position, the timing, if you told us, obviously we're not going to know an exact date, it's not going to be like November 1st, it could be December, it could be whatever type of thing, but we looked at it, the impact it would have on this year's budget and obviously next year's budget.
And what the town board has done is they staggered the hirings throughout the year, and we've had a savings in the salary line for 2014, because some of these ones we're talking about are actually 2013 positions that are vacated.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. I believe there was a second. Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn into executive session. There will be no vote. And again, a reminder that we are closing this meeting in honor of Gary Zay. I have instruction